Okay, so let's dig into this. Imagine a major bustling city, and right under all the traffic, under the concrete, there's this forgotten remnant.
A ghost of history.
Exactly, a ghost, quietly flowing underground. We're talking about the Sainte-Marie Current in Montreal. It's a historic waterway that's been, completely encased and invisible for decades.
Mhm.
But now, thanks to this really focused, citizen-led initiative, they're called Les Amis du Courant Sainte-Marie, that quiet ghost might just be brought back to life.
And they call it their blue dream.
The Blue Dream, and that's what's so fascinating.
It is, and that's exactly where we're starting our deep dive. You sent over a whole stack of sources on this, and what's immediately clear is this is not, just some simple historical rehabilitation project.
Oh, not at all.
The scope is. It's massive.
Yeah.
This is a plan to create a high-impact biodiversity corridor, a really crucial piece of urban climate adaptation,
Yeah.
and a hub for socioeconomic development, all at the same time.
In a part of the city that has historically really needed that kind of investment.
Yeah.
So our goal today is to break all this down for you. We're going to dive into the raw data, the hard numbers behind the vision, the investment required, and, the global models they're citing for success.
And we have to talk about the social questions, too. The ecological imperative is one thing, but then there's the economic reality and this idea of making it a truly equitable grassroots community project.
Right. It's the ultimate urban planning paradox, isn't it? How do you convince a city to spend millions to uncover something it deliberately buried?
Exactly. So I think we have to start by unearthing the core purpose here, the ecological and urban imperative that's driving this whole push.
Yeah, and this idea of bringing nature back into the city, it's accelerating everywhere. But what makes this Montreal initiative so compelling, I think, is that it wasn't some top-down mandate.
No, the sources really emphasize that.
It shows that the best, boldest urban ideas, they often come directly from citizen coalition. This group is basically proving that the community itself can challenge these old, outdated infrastructure assumptions.
And the proposal is so much more than just, providing a nice view. The vision is profoundly strategic. It's rooted in climate reality.
Mm.
This is being positioned as a multifaceted urban development strategy, and it's focused specifically on resilience and just immediate quality of life. If they reopen the current, it instantly becomes a major new linear green and blue space.
So let's get practical. For a city like Montreal, which has dealt with serious flooding, hotter and hotter summers, what are the key ecological functions that make restoring this stream so essential?
The sources point to two critical practical benefits.
Yeah.
First, the current would act as a vital natural sponge.
A natural sponge.
Yeah, against increased rain and urban runoff. When you bring water back to the surface, and crucially you restore the soil and plants around it, you significantly increase the city's ability to absorb water.
Yep.
It helps mitigate flood risk in these really dense neighborhoods.
That just makes sense. Concrete pushes water away, but nature soaks it up.
Precisely. And second, and this is maybe even more visible, it's a tool for fighting the urban heat island effect.
A big one.
A huge one. Restoring the waterway, plus the new trees they plan to plant, provides natural evaporative cooling. That can lower local temperatures by several degrees during peak summer heat waves. This is climate adaptation that actually saves lives.
Okay, so we need to talk about where this is happening. The area affected is primarily Mercier, Hochelaga-Maisonneuve. That immediately tells you this isn't just a facelift for some affluent downtown neighborhood.
That is such a critical point. The project is designed to fundamentally transform the character of the area around it. It would convert these adjacent industrial brownfields.
So underused, often contaminated old industrial sites.
Exactly. Turn those into civic and recreational spaces.
Yeah.
So the ecological restoration becomes the catalyst for a kind of economic revitalization.
You're cleaning up what's already there to attract, I guess, greener industries. So that repurposing of the land right next to the water, the riparian land, it's meant to increase value and attract new businesses focused on sustainable development or urban tourism.
Right, but that also raises a really thorny issue, which is that phrase, value increase.
Mm-hmm.
The strategy is to leverage this new green infrastructure to engineer an economic uplift. But to get there, we first have to tackle the money question. This is not cheap.
Absolutely. A blue dream needs a lot of green funding.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And this is where the financial scale really comes into focus.
Yeah.
Preliminary studies for this project suggest a pretty significant initial budget. We're looking at approximately $20 to $30 million
20 to 30 million.
just for the first phase.
Wow. Okay, and that covers what?
That's the foundational stuff, the heavy lifting. So demolition, the major excavation work to actually uncover the stream, and then the initial landscaping to build up the banks.
That is a hefty figure, especially for a citizen-driven project. That's real infrastructure spending. Do the sources mention any local resistance to that kind of number, especially when the payoff might take years to really materialize?
That is the critical financial hurdle. And the sources detail a mixed funding approach that's designed to deal with exactly that risk. They're planning to combine municipal, provincial, and federal grants, the ones dedicated to green infrastructure.
So they're spreading the risk.
Spreading the political risk, yeah. But they're also counting on a significant amount of private funding and patronage. And for that to work, you need the public sector to be confident that the return on investment is really there.
And the sources seem to suggest that return is coming. They draw these direct parallels to successful waterfront revitalizations around the world. I think this is where we need to spend a little more time.
Yes. The idea of transforming neglected infrastructure for public use has a real track record.
So what are the models they're looking at?
The report explicitly cites two very powerful ones: the High Line in New York
Of course.
and the Bièvre riverbanks in Paris. And these aren't just cosmetic makeovers, they are proven economic engines.
So for the High Line, the lesson is always about the massive real estate boom it triggered, right?
Precisely. The High Line turned a defunct railway into this incredible elevated park, which in turn generated billions in tax revenue for the city by making all the property around it exponentially more desirable. For the Sainte-Marie Current, the goal is similar: create a unique, high-quality public asset.
And what about the Bièvre in Paris?
The Bièvre project is maybe an even better parallel. They reopened parts of a buried river, and it offers this crucial social lesson. It reconnected these historically dense, disconnected neighborhoods. It turned environmental restoration into a tool for pedestrian mobility, for community interaction.
And the numbers they're projecting here seem to back up that optimism. The potential attendance statistic is huge. Once it's fully established, they estimate this corridor could attract over 500,000 annual visitors.
500,000 people.
That's residents and tourists combined. That kind of volume would just drastically increase local foot traffic, cycling.
And that activity is quantifiable. The analysis estimates that the improved neighborhood attractiveness could lead to a 5 to 10% increase in real estate values right next to the current. That's a signal of market confidence.
Okay, that sounds like a financial win, especially if you own property there. But for the current residents of Hochelaga-Maisonneuve, who are often working class, doesn't that raise the immediate fear of gentrification?
Yeah.
Of displacement?
Yes.
That's the major pitfall of projects like the High Line. How does the plan address that social risk?
That is the crucial, complex piece that they're trying to build in from the start. The proponents acknowledge that risk directly, and their strategy for mitigating it is intrinsically linked to the grassroots nature of the whole project.
How so?
The focus is on two things: keeping the economic benefits local and making sure community ownership is, baked into the plan. The new activity, the cafes, the small businesses, the bike rentals, whatever, is estimated to create over 150 permanent local jobs. So the goal isn't just to attract outside capital. It's to support an ecosystem where current residents can actually fill those jobs and run those businesses.
Yeah.
It's an attempt to build community wealth, not just market value.
I think that shift from just financial benefit to job creation and social necessity, that's what makes this deep dive so compelling. Let's shift our focus entirely to the human element now.
Sure.
Because this project is really addressing a critical daily need for accessible nature in neighborhoods that are frankly underserved by parks and quality public spaces.
It's a matter of social equity. I mean, when we talk about infrastructure, we often focus on traffic or sewers, but accessible nature is public health infrastructure.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And the data is unequivocal. Studies show that access to blue and green spaces directly contributes to stress reduction, improved mental health. It gets people active. The current would become a safe, attractive place for walking, cycling, for environmental education, serving people who currently have to travel a long way to find anything like it.
And the sources really hammer home that idea of it being truly grassroots, or par et pour, as they say.
By and for the community.
Right. By and for the people it serves. That sense of ownership, that this wasn't imposed on them but was dreamed up by them, that has to be crucial for its long-term success.
Absolutely. The moment a big project feels like it's being done to a neighborhood, instead of with it, you get resistance. You undermine the whole thing. But this mobilization, it unites such a diverse group: residents, planners, biologists, historians, all rallied around this common vision.
And that unity probably helps tackle the gentrification risk too, right? If the community is already organized around the project, they're in a much better position to advocate for policies that protect vulnerable residents.
Precisely. The project's success is tied to its role as a driver of community cohesion. It fosters a sense of belonging, of pride. It gives residents a common political voice and a vested interest in taking care of this new space, ensuring it stays an asset for everyone, not just a market driver for a few.
So, when we synthesize all of this, what does it all mean? The Sainte-Marie Current project is it's fundamentally a massive public bet.
A bit on the future.
It's a bet on the future, yeah. It demonstrates, using hard economic data and these global precedents, that ecological urbanism can be married to intelligent economic development if that social impact, that equity component, is kept at the center of the planning.
It's an opportunity to reinvent a whole sector of Montreal by reconnecting with its natural roots, turning a forgotten space into a functional, beautiful, modern asset.
It's a compelling template for other cities, really.
I think so. And the sources we reviewed, they end on that powerful call to action. They remind us that these huge projects often start with just a few citizens looking at their city and imagining something radically better. They invite people to send in their own ideas, innovative transit concepts, new kinds of parks.
Which raises an important final question for you, the listener, no matter where you are. If a forgotten, buried waterway in Montreal can inspire a plan to attract 500,000 visitors a year, create hundreds of jobs, and fight climate change, what forgotten piece of your own city holds the greatest potential for a citizen-led reinvention?
Think about that wildest urban idea you have, the one that seems impossible because of cost or bureaucracy. The Sainte-Marie Current project proves that the most transformative ideas often begin as a community dream that is then meticulously built on real data and a fierce commitment to both nature and neighborhood. So what's hiding beneath your concrete?